As we said before, Jamari Thrash, one of the picks that we talked about in the draft, and I singled out as a guy who could be a sleeper. Make sure you check that out. It's in the playlist on the Ultimate Browns playlist. But I told you, Jamari Thrash is a guy that can get open and move around. It looks like G. Bush isn't the only guy with Jamari Thrash on his radar. Let's go to PFF and see what they have to say about the Browns wide receiver draft pick.
Zinter, I think, is a good pick, even though it is a bit of a reach. The injury is probably why. And then I love Jamari Thrash as an addition. Like, they don't need him because they've already made moves, and that's a good receiving core already. But he could absolutely carve a role in that. Like, Thrash is a guy that was going to get completely overlooked in what is a stupidly loaded wide receiver class. But, like, I think Jamari Thrash belongs much higher up in the conversation this year than he actually ended up being. Really sudden mover, got some amazing yards after the catch plays, had some pretty bad quarterback play as well. His testing was pretty average, which I think is part of why he slipped as far as he did. But he's a great poster child for the PFF gas. The tracking data had him consistently elite for 3 straight years. So given his, instinctive adjustments to the ball, instinctive adjustments to the quarterback, the only thing he doesn't do well is he's just not a contested catch guy in any way, shape, or form. Like, he is going to get, if it's close at the catch point, he's probably going to lose. But he's good at separate. Like, he's almost Jerry Jeudy in that regard, right? He's really good at separating. But if it's contested by the time the ball arrives, he's not your guy.
That was courtesy of PFF, and they're breaking down Jamari Thrash and the different skill sets that he brings to the Cleveland Browns. And, for me, when you take a look at Jamari Thrash, he's a guy that is a guy that you can get in the 5th round. And when you watch him on YouTube, we got a lot of YouTube warriors out there, but go out and check him out. I'm be surprised if you haven't already done so. But one thing Thrash can do is separate, and they point that out in PFF. You see that when you watch him, if the ball is in the air, he can track the ball very well, and he has what I call, he's an athlete, right? He may not run a 4.3 or 4.2, but he's one of those guys that's just as fast in Timberlands, just as fast as cleats. He could be wearing some gym shoes, whatever. He could be wearing pajamas. He's going to be running the same speed all the time. And you can get away with running just a regular 4.4, and I'm saying 4.4 is something like slow. But you can get away with running a 4.4 when you got game speed like Thrash has. It just always seems like he's running away from people kind of easy. And there's a difference between guys who got long, deep speed or guys that are just track fast. Sometimes you can get guys that are track fast. Like, you look at just a couple years ago, Schwartz. When you get Anthony Schwartz, who's one of the fastest humans on the planet running straight lines, but he has to slow down and round off his cuts. He can't catch the football. He's not really good in and out of breaks. He can't beat man coverage. He's getting jammed at the line of scrimmage. Jamari Thrash is a football player that can do a lot of different things. He's a guy that you're not going to miss him for no athlete that can't get it done. He got athletic ability, and I think the Browns found one when you're in the 5th round. 5th round is late in the game. Anything I don't even count nothing late after 4th round to me myself. These is coin flips. You wishing up on a star when you drafting anything after the 4th round, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. These guys, and when you got a stacked roster like the Browns got, there's not very many positions you're gonna make that position at, right? You're gonna make that roster. I think when you take a look at some of the receivers that could have been available, Mitchell from Texas was there. You talk about Franklin from Oregon was there. There's some other receivers that was on the board, and which brings us to our mail questions, our fan mail. A couple of questions about the receiver room, and fans a little upset. Some question whether or not the Browns should be. Did they do the right thing and go offensive line, defensive line in the first 2 rounds, and whether or not they wanted to see a receiver higher. So make sure you check this out. We'll go to our fan mail right now.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system.
Victor Sanchez, Las Vegas, Nevada. G. Bush, how you doing? Been following you for years now. But basically, the Thrash pick, if you look at every one of his highlights, he doesn't use his hands. He only uses his body. And, it's real easy to take that H out of his name and go from Thrash to Trash. What do you think?
This is Damon Drought calling from Watertown. I wanted to see what did y'all think about the Browns not picking the second round pick receiver.
Thanks for both of our fans for calling in. If you want to be a part, hit us up, and you could be part of the show as well. The first question, let's go ahead and answer that. When you look at Thrash, one of the things they do bring up in PFF is that he's not a contested catch guy. He's not going to go up and moss nobody. If the ball is in the air, good luck. Like the chances are it's going to get knocked down or he's not going to come down with the football. He's more of a run after catch guy. He is a body catcher. He is a guy who is not going to be pluck the ball out of the hands. And sometimes the ball can come up on him, right? And when you let the ball rise up on you and let the ball get into your body, there's a lot of times the ball's going to bounce off your shoulder pads, and especially when you're dealing with the way that the corners can close and separate and close the distance when it comes to when you catch the ball at the launch point and the catch point. So there is some withdrawals to his game. There is some things that he needs to work on, and see he's not a perfect prospect. And that's why he's a 5th round pick. At that point, you're looking for guys that are going to be diamonds in the rough. That is one of the things he's going to have to work on. But at the end of the day, too, that's just something that the receiving coach and is on the Browns to develop. You got to develop players too. Everybody gonna come into the league as a finished product. So the Browns are going to just have to develop him, and they've done a pretty bad job, to be frank, out of developing their receivers that they've drafted. Since Andrew Berry has been here, and that's one knock on them, is the development and draftment of receivers. So that's a valid point that you raise. For our second caller, asking, are you a little disappointed, or what do you think about them not taking a receiver in the first 2 rounds? For me, I would have took. I'm a receivers guy, right? I'm a guy who wants weapons, but I see what the Browns were trying to do when you go get Mike Hall Jr. You draft him at 54. He fits what you want to do. Think about it like this. This is a deferred draft pick. If he's 20 years old, which he is now, in a couple of years, if he do stay at Ohio State, you could see him possibly being a top 10, top 15 pick if he matured. The Browns go ahead and kind of take him now. And to see what he can do and grow at 20. Andrew Berry talked about how, that was one of their rationale thought processes, and his skill set of being a guy that can really brush the passer, quick get off, quick twitch guy in the middle. When you talk about Zach Zenner, I can see where you're going with that as well. They like the guard position. They like maulers inside. Zach Zenner is one of those guys that come from a Michigan program that they're going to run the football. They ran it all the way down people's throat, even Alabama and Ohio State, right to a national championship. And he was one of the best offensive linemen in the entire country, consensus first-team All-American, consensus first-team Big Ten offensive lineman 2022 and 2023. So you think what they're doing. They're looking to stockpile. They already got Luke Whipple out of Ohio State. They had him. He has 1 year under his belt. You see what DeJuan Jones looks like he's blossoming into. Right. And so you get Zenner. If any one of those guys go down, Batonio or Teller, you got a guy that you think is a better replacement than guys off the practice squad. You get him some time. They think he's going to be a starter for them in the future. And now you can see how they're trying to stockpile linemen and retool what they got going. I think they like Thrash. Didn't have a 4th round pick this year, but they took Thrash, and I think they like that he can separate. You even hear, I don't know if he's going to ever reach that this year, but you hear the guys from PFF and the Sound talking about whether or not, he reminds them a little bit of Jerry Jeudy in the way he can separate. So I can understand what they were doing. I can also understand that people had, higher grades on some of the receivers, and this was a great receiver class, right? All-time great. They had receivers that were going 1, 2, 3rd round that it can be impact players for teams. So I can see why that was something for you as well. If you guys want to get in contact with us, just like these callers did, hit us up on our hotline. We'll be able to take your calls, and you may make the show. With that